The USS Jenolan was reported missing 75 years ago. Starfleet captains are like children and never get drunk unless you're willing to pay for it the next day. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Sirach Lofton.
Hello.
You see, Sirach, when people get drunk, oftentimes, we'll talk about it later. My name is Ryan T. Huss. Today we're doing a review of Star Trek The Next Generation Season 6, Episode 4, entitled Relics, written by Ronald D. Moore, directed by Alexander Singer. This was October 10th, 1992. Where were you? Also, I believe this episode was sponsored by one of our good buddies, and yes, it is, all the way out in Austria, Robert Kaiser, our good buddy Robert Kaiser out in Austria, never misses a show. Thank you so much for sponsoring this one. Pretty good choice. How you doing today, Sirach?
I'm doing great. I enjoyed this episode, so I'm doing great. Good spirits, laddie.
Yeah, this is one of the episodes when I look ahead that I circle and go, ooh, I can't wait to see this one with Sirach. I want to know what his reaction is. And I myself have not seen it I haven't seen most of these in 20 years. But you have not seen these in ever years, in no years ever. So I'd love to know what you thought when you first saw Scotty pop up. Hopefully the thumbnail to the episode didn't ruin it. Because I saw when I hit it on Paramount Plus, there was Scotty right there. I was like, oh no, that's ruining it for Sirach.
Oh, good thing I didn't pay attention.
Good.
I didn't expect anything. Actually, it opened with the crew. I detected transport ship, and I was like, another transport ship. I was like, that's the intro to so many episodes. We've detected a transport ship or some ship. And I'm like, what's this one gonna be about?
Yeah, same ship, different day, right?
Same ship, exactly. And so I thought, okay, is this going to be an episode that is a recycle kind of mix match of several different episodes, taking the beginning of this and switching it with that and, kind of a Frankenstein episode. But no, it wasn't. Actually, it was a really interesting episode because as soon as I did see Scotty, I thought, wait a minute, this is cool. It made me think about the timelines. I was like, do their timelines overlap? And and then I was thinking, oh wow, this is going to be so great to see Scotty basically be on the Enterprise and watch his reaction like a kid in the candy store, like about all of the upgrades and where time has gone. So yeah, I thought that was a real special treat for me. As soon as I saw Scotty, I was like, yeah, WTF, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool because everybody loves Scotty, right? How can you not?
Yeah.
And we saw Bones in the first episode, but then nobody since then, or none of the original series, I should say. No, actually Spock, that's right. I was trying to remember. I was like, wait, I feel like we did. So we saw
Spock.
We've seen Bones, we've seen Spock, and now we've seen Scotty. That's 3 out of the 7 leads. It's really, number 2, 3, and 4 of the leads outside of Kirk on this series. So
when did we see Bones? I don't remember the
first episode. First episode, and he was all made up to look older than he was. He was like, treat this ship well. And then he met Data. He's like, I don't see no pointy ears on you, boy, but you sound like a Vulcan to Data. But if you look, this is like in the late 80s and early 90s, and even then Star Trek was paying homage to previous series, and so right now we've got a bunch of new shows that have been coming out the last 10 years, and they're paying homage to the previous series,
which I love.
And you see that this is just the Star Trek way. This has been going on since 1987, where they're just bringing the people back. We had, why can't I remember the title? The Trials and Tribulations, right? on Deep Space Nine, where they did something similar. They go back on this one. We go back to the original Enterprise. I mean, it's just, and it's beautiful. We love it, right?
Well, what I really love about it is that it allows you as the viewer to, believe that these characters go on to live their lives past the show. And when you bring them back, then you say, oh, it reminds you that the universes are intertwined and that, the foundation that had been laid beforehand is recognized by the predecessor. And so I think those are one of the great elements about seeing that. Yeah, I mean, these guys paved the way. They were the pioneers in this particular space. No pun intended, but they they paved the way for us, and I think it's fitting to honor them and to pay homage and to bring them back. I mean, one of the biggest things I was excited about watching this episode was the prospects of seeing Geordi
Yes.
and Scotty just go back and forth, right?
Me too.
So I was like, oh my God, this is going to be
Yeah.
like, engineer heaven right here, and it was, and it was. So they delivered on that with this episode.
Yeah, it was kind of like the biggest thing. I remember that too when I first watched it. That was the big thing. I'm like, oh my God, I want to see Geordi and Scotty hanging out. Geordi, stop being mean to him.
Yeah, then he started being mean to him, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here?
But it was so funny at the same time too, because Scotty's just like, hi lad, can I tell you a story? Everybody's like, all right, Gramps, like we're actually at work right now. We don't have time for your stories are great. They're great. They're great. But like
but at 10 forward later after
please, when we say, hey, tell me that story about, but other than that, we're working.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. In our mind as the audience, these guys are legendary, right? So, we've heard about their legend. Beam me up, Scotty is just a phrase that is, lasted throughout the ages, and it's part of the popular culture. And so, and there has been acknowledgement of the greatness of these characters within universe when we talk about Spock and Kirk and the legend that follows them throughout the series and throughout the shows, the various iterations, because we're like, oh, that's the the Kirk, Kirk did this, the legend of whatever he accomplished during his the Kobayashi Maru and all of these things, and you have Spock and his legend, and how he has his intellect and his Vulcan rationale and mind, and mind melding and all of these things. And so I guess I assumed that LaForge also studied Montgomery Scott's work as a young cadet in Starfleet, and in my own estimation, thought maybe he would have this kind of reverence for him in the way that they have for Kirk, for example. But it seemed and it appeared to me that putting on a pedestal of Scotty wasn't there for LaForge. He was just like, yeah, this guy's an engineer. I know of him a little bit, but I don't think of him as like, the god of engineers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot of times in Star Trek, they'll do the opposite, where they're like, oh my God, you mean Dr. Smith? Only the highest rated doctor at the conference of Genoa. And people are like, okay, well, I guess this guy's important. I've read all of your books, even the one with the star. Oh, even twice already. I read, but this one,
and
they're
they've
like,
done that with Dr. Noonien Singh. Remember?
Yes.
They do that with him.
Yes.
They're like, oh my God, Dr.
Soon, yeah.
Soon,
so,
right? And so, yeah.
So that's the thing with Star Trek usually, and in this case, they kind of did the opposite. I mean, they didn't really treat him poorly, but they're just like, hey, we're busy. And it is true, we're only human. We do that sometimes where we say like, hey, I'm busy right now. When you're busy or you're focused, you can get a little bit more curt or abrupt. But really what they should have done if Geordi was busy is just to say, hey, go talk to Data. Because first of all, while Data's working, he can multitask. He's an android, so he could talk to him and work. But also in his off hours, Data could listen to his stories all day long. He could just be like, "Oh, sure, that's very interesting. Actually, I did know that because blah 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 blah." And he one ups. I mean, and he's the perfect chaperone because he can babysit people that want to talk. As you'll see later in an episode called Starship Mine. Starship,
Well,
I believe it's season 7.
he's not the only one, actually. And their other two were underutilized as well. The other person is Guinan, who's not in this episode.
And Troy, actually. Yeah, I bet that's where
And Troy.
You're so right.
And Troy came at the end, basically just said goodbye to him. And I didn't see her at all but before that.
Me neither.
Maybe you could correct me, but I just saw her saying goodbye to him when he was leaving. But I was thinking, what the hell do you do all day? Isn't your job sitting and listening to people? Isn't he the perfect candidate? He's lost 75 years of life. Wouldn't you want to catch him up and be, and walk him through the therapy of what it takes to overcome those?
And how are you feeling, Captain? Are you feeling all right with all this?
Yes.
You're right. You are right there.
I'm sorry. That's literally part of the protocol. Like, not only would you make him see Dr. Crusher to see if he had a physical, any ailments physically, because there's, do you check out? We run the diagnostics, everything checks out, you're good, Dr. Crusher approves. And now we're going to send you to our psychologist who's going to give you some other tools to deal with your emotional distress of having lost out on this time period, of being trapped in a buffer. I don't know what that feels like, but maybe
tingly, maybe tingly.
Yeah. Would you like to explain? And so I don't know. They could have been they underutilized that opportunity, obviously, to get this story across, which is great because I got what I wanted, which is engineer talk.
Now,
but they did have other options to have somebody talk to them.
Now, I kind of want to give you my butt right now.
Okay. Okay.
Because I have a butt to give you here. And I wasn't sure whether to save my butt for later or whether to give it to you now, but I think we'll give it to you now on the talk of engineering talk. Here it comes. I love James Doohan. I love Scotty. I love this episode. I think it was so wonderful. And I'll talk throughout this entire review about how wonderful it made me feel and the beautiful moments between him and Geordi and him and Picard and how sweet they were. But when he first comes on the Enterprise and is walking with Geordi and they're going technobabble, that dude is reading off of cue cards hardcore. Big time. He was reading. He was reading and he was reading. And, I'm fine with it. I'm like, well, yeah, listen to the line. We can't all be LeVar Burton, dude. I don't fault him at all. But what I am saying is I definitely caught him reading. He was like when he's walking in, because he had a mouthful of lines to say to introduce us to the situation, right? When they're it's like the walk and talk. And clearly somebody's walking kind of next to the camera holding the lines like this, because instead of looking at Geordi or where he's going, he's watching these things, and then he delivers some lines parts comfortably and other lines he's kind of focusing, and like any politician that we've seen, and then my next thought was when I caught him doing that, and I'm such a jerk because I rewound it to watch it like 3 times to make sure that I was like, all right, yeah. And everybody at home, please feel free to check me on this. There's no way you'll watch that and think, okay, you'll definitely agree. But then I thought, if you've ever, been in a scene with somebody that can't get their lines straight, or, well, I know you have, we've definitely touched on that. But when somebody is messing up their lines, it makes it very easy for you then to mess up your lines. Somehow it kind of gets in your head. And I've been there before where somebody has like complicated lines and you've got yours down, but if they're messing theirs up, it kind of gets in your head and you start messing up yours possibly. You know, it makes you susceptible to that. So when he did that, my first thought was, oh no, don't mess up Geordi now. And Geordi just knocked his out of the park like he always does. And he had this techno babble and he still slayed it. I was like,
with his eyes closed, basically. By the way,
pro right there, man. Yep.
Yeah, the guy's got his, he's got his eyes behind his back. It's amazing what LeVar Burton is able to do. I have to, give him credit. And at the same time, with all due respect to Mr. Doohan, when you get up there in age,
exactly
as he is at this particular moment, he's on the upside of age. And your memory is not as sharp, and your ability to retain stuff is not there for whatever reason. And we all hope to get to that point where we're there and we can forget things ourselves. But so that I've experienced actors reading from cards mainly and primarily on the basis of age.
That's what it would seem like, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's forgivable.
So every time I've seen somebody using cards, it was an older gentleman who just had been in the business for years. And I guess they're just like, you know what? Why am I going to make this harder? Like, it's like trying to do math when you can use a calculator. It's
also, it's pragmatic. Sometimes you just got to get through the scene.
Well, you got to get to the scene.
We could be here all night, or we could just knock this out.
And it's a walk and talk, which is also another challenge for older actors sometimes, because their movement is not the same. Hitting the marks is also on their mind. So they're like, oh, you got to stop on this mark and we need you to face this light and this and that. And you have to, and so they're preoccupied with those other cues that they have to take for the camera. And sometimes it's just, and then the age factor. Like I said, the majority, if not 100% of the people that I've seen use cue cards were older people. And so it's a forgivable thing for me. I saw it too, but I wasn't going to fault him. Actually, I thought he did a pretty good job of delivering the lines while reading. Because that itself is an art.
Also, not only the age thing, which of course makes it to where, like, not only is it forgivable, it's almost expected, but also those were some pretty crazy lines that he did not have to deliver in the original. Original series did not have that. Original series was like, that's all she's got, Captain, or we can't do that, or those people are purple, like those were the lines.
Exactly. Which are a lot easier to remember than the kind of technobabble that we've seen LeVar Burton have to memorize. It's just the fact that he's the best at it. But yeah, I thought it was great to see him, like as soon as he got off as soon as he got beamed on board the new Enterprise, he's like, what did he say? You've changed the resonator array. Like, that was right away.
No. It's like, all right, Gramps, take a step back for just a second. He's like, hey, that's what I do. You know what I just realized? That's 2 out of the first 4 season 6 episodes were basically about, transporter stuff, right? He trapped himself in a transporter to save himself and Franklin, who couldn't make it. And 2 episodes ago, we had Barclay saving people that were also trapped in a transporter.
Yeah.
Funny. I wonder why they didn't space those out a bit.
Yeah, that's weird, because you would think that, because I was thinking, when did this idea actually start? Because we did see the Barclay episode, right? But I thought we've seen that before, where transporter people were in the buffer somehow, some way before. I wonder where it started, like the exact episode that first talked about somebody being stored in the transporter buffer, or you know what I mean, for any extended period of time.
Will definitely be the next generation. Well, no, might have been original series. There are certainly times where it's like, oh, we're losing somebody, or somebody's trapped in there for a few seconds. We're watching, they're trying to get them, or it's slowed down, you know. So they definitely tinker with it a lot. Yeah, so it's got to be as early as the original series doing things like that. But yeah, the transporter and the holodeck, they create stories. You know what I mean? Like you could write stories about holodeck and transporter forever, because it's like, it's theoretical, you know, like, okay, well, I'll believe you. Okay, sure. You could, Barkley will grab giant worms that turn out to be humans in the transporter. All right, I'll go with you on that one, you know.
Yeah. Now, were they saying that 75 years passed?
Yes.
Okay, that's the part I also didn't really quite understand.
He was frozen. Like, it didn't feel like 75 years to him, I don't think.
Yeah, but then how is Spock in these episodes?
He's just really, he didn't get, because Vulcans live up to 300 years. That's why.
Okay, so he was 75 years older.
Yes.
This Spock.
Yeah. Oh, and actually that's great news, because I was kind of sad, because I'm thinking, oh, Scotty is here, but all of his friends are gone, but not Spock. So that's great to know that somewhere out there, beneath the pale moonlight, that's a song, Scotty can fly his shuttle to Romulus and go find Spock, and they can have a drink together. Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool.
We do have to jump to our break real quick, but I do want to tease in the next segment, we have some crazy trivia, like something that I'd never heard of, and most people I know had never heard of it, but it was found deeps in the darkness of the interwebs. There's a crazy story about Jimmy Doohan and possibly being in other Star Trek series. So stick around, everybody. We will be right back on The Seventh Rule.